You are listening to the IFH Podcast Network. For more amazing filmmaking and screenwriting podcasts, just go to ifhpodcastnetwork.com.
Welcome to the Successful Screenwriter Podcast, where we discuss anything and everything screenwriting. Here we interview successful screenwriters and filmmakers to find out just what it takes to make it in the industry. Just a heads up, this episode is brought to you by my book, The Guide for Every Screenwriter, which has been listed as one of the best screenwriting books of all time by the Book Authority. If you're looking for something that reveals the secrets of screenwriting in an easy to understand and engaging way, then this is the book for you. You can find The Guide for Every Screenwriter at thesuccessfulscreenwriter.com/books. Now, on to the show. This is pretty awesome. I have on a guest that's actually very dear to my heart. This gentleman right here is the host of the Break It Down show. He actually was one of the first people who ever really believed in me and gave me a shot. And this is Pete Turner. Pete, thanks for being on.
It's always a joy to talk with you. It's always a joy to pick each other's brains. I always learn a lot. You are so knowledgeable. I see your book there behind you. And if anybody has any doubt, get that book. I buy it for my friends all the time. They say they want to be a screenwriter. I buy them the book.
That's so kind of you. It is definitely strategically placed right there. Before you and I met, I was struggling with presenting myself to the world. I got to guest on your show. I got to chat with, Jay Moore, who's a huge name. And I was trying to keep my stuff together when I was chatting with him. And you were just so cool about it. And you really helped me find my voice. And I've always appreciated that. And I thought maybe we could talk a little bit about that. Maybe you could give us a little bit about your origin story, what brought you into the Break It Down show.
From California, I couldn't find a job out of college, so I joined the Army. And this was completely surprise for everybody. Like, what? You're going to the Army? And I'm like, yep. And I became a spy, and we've talked about this before.
That's awesome.
And it just turns out that I was good at being a spy. I was just naturally, no one knew this going in, but I was just naturally inclined. And then the development that I put myself through and continue to put myself through, it just continued to make me a better and better collector. And that turned into me being tired of being shot at in combat all the time. and so I'm like, I got to tell these stories. I know how to do interviews. Like nobody can out-interview me. I would take the challenge with anybody. I'm not saying I'm better than Oprah. I'm not saying I'm better than Howard, but I've done so many interviews in so many different settings and so many different languages. I'm on par with the best people out there. So let me go out. And this is before I did 1,200 episodes of podcast hosting, And so now I've got all these years behind me, and it's amazing. I have my mind blown all the time because of my show. And that was an unexpected but wonderful benefit, and
yeah,
it's just, well, you know how it goes. All of a sudden, you're talking to this person. You're talking to Jay Moore. Oh my God, And Jay Moore is my friend. I hung out with him twice last week, just hanging out, not like celebrity hanging out, but just buddies hanging out. And so the show, that's sort of the backstory of the show is I have the ability to meet people. I have the ability to ask the right kind of questions that provide something different than what you're going to get anywhere else. And I just keep doing it, whether it's smart or not. I just keep doing it, man.
I think it's awesome. I mean, the Break It Down show's whole thing is that they bring in experts and they talk about what they do. They talk about their craft, and then you're able to pull out those trade secrets with your spy-like skills. And I think it's so cool. So, I mean, you've built a brand around them. Over 1,000 episodes is amazing. So what is your recommendation out there for writers or anybody who is out there and they're trying to figure out what their niche is or trying to figure out how to find their kind of brand as a writer?
I would say niches are small, so try them out and figure out what fits. I mean, you and I both know there are so many kinds of writers. Maybe you were born to be something very dry and what people might call boring. Maybe you're meant to be a technical writer, right?
Yeah.
But you're desperate to be a comedy TV writer, and it's just not going to happen because that's not your voice. It doesn't mean you're not a writer. It doesn't mean you're not super talented. Technical writers make a lot of money, but you are really gifted at that or whatever. Look, I've been published as an author in a peer-reviewed article. And that's academic
Awesome.
grade writing. Several of those, right? I've been published in a chapter of a book celebrating NATO's 70th anniversary. I've, you know, you can get published and experience in writing in a lot of different venues, and just continue to work on the craft of falling in love with words over and over again. That's what I would recommend, is just write. And if you have a problem writing, work on your problem of having a problem writing. You know, Hilliard's a friend of ours.
Yeah.
He's like, write a word. Write 10 words. You can write 10 words. If you can write 10, you can write 100. You know, but you just start by just writing a couple of words. Hemingway would say, you know, you have to write right from the beginning one true sentence, right from the start. And he might spend his whole day writing that one sentence. You know?
Wow. It's a great point. I mean, I know writers who will spend an entire month just working on a synopsis breakdown of their script because they can't get it right. So, I mean, I totally get it. And I think one thing you taught me about finding your voice, which I guess is what's the show's turning into, but one thing you taught me was that it's okay to screw up. Like, I would be so hard on myself and I would get like super embarrassed and be like, oh my God, this is on a permanent record. You know, this is an interview now and anybody can find it. But you're like, it's okay, man. You're human. People screw up, and people are actually okay with you screwing up because then they know that you're human and you don't have to be this perfectly edited machine.
It's a big thing to remember, is to be a little easier on yourself. And also that translates into others, because others are they're gonna do their best, want to have these great outcomes. And so, like my girlfriend just launched a new product for her marketing service.
Cool.
And she worked and said, look at the front page, just tell me what you think. And I'm like, you missed it. She wanted to hear that, but she didn't want to hear that, you know? So we had to work through like what that meant, you know? And I'm like, here's where I just don't follow. And she does the same thing to me. She solays me all the time. And you have to develop the ability to find people that can be honest with you and say, I don't get this, and then make you be a better version of you.
Yeah.
Because you're going to make mistakes. And if you're not allowed to make mistakes, then you're making the first mistake.
Oh, man, what a great point. One thing I found after getting to know you, because you're so comfortable with yourself, and it took me a long time to get comfortable with who I am. Once I finally became comfortable with who I am and really figuring that out, when I make a mistake now, I can laugh it off easily. Like, I find it's absolutely hilarious and hysterical, whereas before I would be ashamed of it. But now that I'm in my own skin and I get it, you know, I'll be talking to a big time director or actor. I'll get their name wrong or something during the podcast. I'll just start cracking up.
You know, people expect perfection, and that's just an unrealistic expectation. You and I are talking in real time. You know, we're not working off of a script. I might bobble and say the wrong name. It happens. And it's just not the end of the world. And sometimes you can go back and fix that thing. Yeah. But sometimes, like, you know what I meant. I didn't mean, you know, Captain Cork. I meant Captain Kirk, but I said Captain Cork because I'm excited, you know. It happens. Yeah. I want to say this about making mistakes too.
Yeah.
Anybody who's done, so Steven Spielberg, right? He's created some of the greatest movies ever. I promise you, if you say, how many mistakes have you made along the way? He's going to be like, all of them, twice. You know?
Yeah,
so
that's true.
Even when you think you see perfection, you don't. You see someone that has learned. Maybe they learned the lessons faster. Maybe they learned better, whatever. But we all constantly make way more mistakes than we ever account for. And so lighten up a little bit. You'll be all right. You can take it.
Yeah, it's okay to not be perfect. And I think embracing that actually adds a little bit of beauty to who you are as a person. And it took me a while to get that. And I'm so glad that Can
I say something?
Yeah.
When I type, I often type love or live you know, I can't always rely on love or live come out. And I often look at that sentence and go, is it better now? Because love and live, or love and live, are just close enough. They're kin, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes I'm like, I do want to write love here. Or I do want to write live instead of love, because it is more powerful. I wrote a thing, my brother died last month, and I wrote this really powerful thing. And the first paragraph of the thing that I wrote is the first paragraph, the entire thing.
Yeah.
Live.
Wow.
That's it. Live,
Powerful.
period. Space, new paragraph, you know? And it's easy to miss that word because it's up there all by itself. No. But when you go back and you read it, you're like, Pete has said a lot without saying anything.
It hits you.
You know? Yeah.
It hits you. And I am so sorry for your loss.
Oh man, I appreciate that. Yeah, we're all dealing with it, and I don't want to minimize that, but I also don't want to get distracted by it, But here I'm writing from this point of view of someone who's just lost their brother, and the first thing I have to say is like, live, just
Yeah.
the whole big thing.
And that is having to deal with such a tragedy like that. It really does make you look at what you've been through and really make you see life in a whole new way, and hopefully push you towards living the way that you've been wanting to live.
Yeah, exactly. Take that lesson, take that loss, and turn it into something. If my brother was here, would he tell me like, "Yeah, I want you boo-hoo-hooing all day,"
right? And
missing me, or is he be like, "Get to work,"
Yeah.
I can't. I want you to do it. So it's taking something terrible and making something out of it.
Yeah.
And making I've been playing with the concept of making a tea in your head, where you fill it with leaves of things. Mountains can be leaves of your mental tea. It can be staring at a log that's burning.
Yeah.
And you just get lost in that. Sitting in front of we sat, and a girlfriend and I went and saw a cellist and a piano play a symphony. And it's long enough that you can't just pay attention to the playing the whole time.
Yeah.
And then you think, hey, where is this composer taking me? And
that's fascinating.
So at the end of it, my girlfriend and I compare notes, and we went to similar places.
Oh, that's cool.
Different points of view, but then I thought about the cat, and then I thought about this. And then you realize there is design in that stuff.
Yeah.
That composer who's been dead for 150 years wrote something that he knows you're not going to be able to hang with every single note.
Right.
You're going to go somewhere, and he's trying to create not what you're thinking, but just a palette to work from. And it gave me a new perspective on words in the same way, where first off, create them so that they exist and people can vibe off of them.
Right.
But two, think about the words in a different way. And I'm not trying to make people I can't write any words now because I'm thinking about everything, but just simply creating it and then letting it become something else for somebody else is really powerful.
I think you're absolutely right. I mean, sitting down and getting the word on the paper, whether it's perfect or not, getting that first draft done, and just making that action in and of itself is success. It really is. How many people want to be a writer? How many people want to be a podcaster? And they can never take that first step, right? You take that first step, you're going to stumble. It's going to be ugly, but there's beauty in that. There's the fact that you're a human and you're trying to do it. And I think that's 100% right. And it's actually funny hearing you talk about this, because listening to your show, I mean, I don't think people realize you're taking them on a journey now. We're going to journey about what it's like to be a professional snowboarder or to be a spy, right? And then you present somebody into that world. It's absolutely amazing. And then they get to spend time with that person practically in the room, and you're the bridge for them, which I think is pretty fantastic, amazing, which is something I have tried to incorporate into what I do with writing and directors. Now I know that you're producing. What do you got going on in that front? I know you're producing some extra material. I know you're producing other podcasts as well. Yeah.
I've got a couple of podcasts that I help them improve what they're doing, or just get it out the door, right? Because they recognize I want to do the fun stuff, but I don't want to do the boring stuff, which is the post-production. And so they hire me to do the post-production, and I get it done for them, and I give them some notes if they want it. And sometimes they don't want notes. Sometimes I'm not going in that direction. They're like, okay, well then, you're doing exactly what you want to do. That I don't think there's anything you can change about this other than repetition and learning from that,
right.
Which is, by the way, that's valuable to hear that from somebody who knows about the industry, because you can say, hey, all you need now, I've helped you get in the water. You're going to have to take your ugly stroke and turn it into what you do swimming wise,
Right.
I can't do that. I'll come back in 50 episodes and take a look, and maybe we continue up from there. But knowing that this is what the work now is on you. You have to do the walk. You have to work on the kata or whatever it is that you have to do, whatever, parallel you want to draw.
Right.
That's one thing. And so then these projects are out there. There's always something that someone wants to create. And the hardest part, and I know you'll appreciate this, is finding all of the money for the project. There's literally a project that the guy's like, I've got you covered. I just have to make sure that we can get it sold at a higher level.
Right.
She was like, so I've got some of the money. Now I have to find the rest of the money. And yeah, right.
It's tough,
So
man.
some of the money is none of the money until it's all of the money, and then and then you're good.
God, that's really true. I mean, I can't tell you how many projects I've come on or assignments I've gotten where I've written the script, I've been paid for the script, and then they have the budget, they have everything they want to do, and then they have 16 investors interested, right? But nobody wants to crack and give the first dollar until somebody else gives the first dollar. So then you're in this weird kind of waiting game where you're like, okay, who's going to put the money in so that everybody can put the money in?
Right.
That's crazy. Well, what do you have? What do you have going on right now, other than the fact that I caught you on Thanksgiving holiday weekend, and I feel terrible about it, but I do appreciate.
No, don't feel terrible. I always have time for you. And it's because this is part of the service to the community, right? Looking out for one another and sharing these lessons.
Absolutely.
And I am not too big to be able to go out. This conversation might unlock one person for an hour to do something that they had never did before. And that would be, even if I don't ever find out about it, it's just great to know that you can say you can do this. You do it by doing it, and you get great at it by doing it over and over again. So if you are a writer and you're trying to write, just write. It doesn't even make sense. Just get words on the page.
Yeah.
And just get good at whatever it is. Write in a particular emotion. I'm big on this, Jeff. If you can create an affect, forget effect. Effect is secondary. If you can create an emotional response to what you write, boy, there's money in that.
That's true.
There's money in that, and there's success in that, because now you can create that thing.
Yeah.
And you don't have to be great at making a movie if you can make people, if they're compelled to feel a certain way because of your words.
You're absolutely right. When I have to come onto a project to write, I'll find something about that character or about the theme of the story that resonates deep with me. If I can't find that, I really struggle. So I will really dig into this character and find something, okay, what is this story saying to me? And then I will write from that emotion, that flaw, that pain that character is going through. And I'm not kidding. I will be in the middle of a script and I will hit a point where the character's journey and I will be in tears and I'll be a sloppy mess writing the script, but then I'll know, like, this is working. This is getting on the page. It's cathartic for me. It's healing in a way. And then eventually the producer or actor will read it and they'll be blown away and they'll have an emotional response to the journey. And it's great as a writer to be validated that way, but it's way more important for me that they feel that journey. As we go full circle, as the cellist was taking you on a journey, we're taking somebody on a journey, and you're affecting somebody's life, even if it's momentarily. They may see something differently after that. And there's so much power in that.
There's a thing I'm writing a book of my spy adventures, and one of the things that I'm working on is a chapter on religion and how it matters in combat zones. And this is how I know I'm on it. As I write it and I read my stuff that is true, I get mad at myself because I disagree with my own position. Right?
Really?
And this is where I want to be. I want to be on this razor's edge. Yeah, because in America, we have that freedom of or from religion.
Right.
And when you go to a place where the title of the government is the Islamic Republic of Afghanistan, you cannot reject the fact that religion is a major part of what they do.
Yeah.
And we do that, right? And so when I read it, my separation of church and state brain is arguing with my experience brain.
Wow.
And I know that when I write this thing, not for everybody, but for the right people, they will instantly reject this. And if they can push through and read, it's going to have the impact that I want, where they're like, man, you know what?
Yeah.
I am not considering religion at the right level.
Yeah.
And that's my job, right? Is to yank them off of that reality and bring them to this other one and go, you have to understand that the words Allah Akbar are on the flag of Iraq.
Wow.
Religion matters here,
Yeah.
And so that's one of my tests is am I feeling the conflict in my heart? Am I crying over this page or whatever it is? It's a powerful tool if you can find it.
Well, real art challenges, right? It challenges your perceptions. It challenges the way you look at the world. And so that's what you're doing. And that is good work. And it is hard work. It is ugly work. It is not always the best received. Sometimes it gets burned in a pile. I mean, that's the type of work that you're doing. And I think that is so important.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a good reason to get up and write every day, is to know that you can build that. But you have to build that one word, one letter at a time. And then, also when you're writing, sometimes you get stuck on what I would call the mortise, like the stuff in between.
Yeah.
Like I have to get from here to here. And I don't know what this transition is. And it might be 100 words that it takes to get you from there to there. And then you can edit out and then go back through. But I often skip those joints in my rough draft and just let them be sloppy. And sometimes they don't get fixed. It's just a hard joint. But those are some of the tricks that I do to keep myself writing is don't worry about perfection, even within the writing. You can come back, you can put fresh eyes on it. You're going to change your mind about it anyhow. Just get the thought out, and then you can work on bringing it together if you need to later on.
I think that's fine. Everybody has to find their own process. I know some writers that will just write individual scenes and then try and join it together at the end. Me, I'm write very linearly. And then I'll go back and rewrite and write. So I do this weird hybrid write and rewrite at the same time type of thing. But it works. Yeah, I think as long as you're moving forward, that's beautiful. Pete, it's the Break It Down show. Do you have anything else? Is there anything I should have asked that I haven't asked for the audience?
Oh, yeah, that's a good question. That's a question I like to ask too. I'd love people to watch the Break It Down show on YouTube. Just YouTube/Pete A. Turner, or just type in Pete A. Turner and I'll come up. That's my preferred location. We have all kinds of incredible guests. Sometimes it's even Jeff on the show. And my job is to take you, even if it's a guest you've seen somewhere else, I promise you're going to get a completely different conversation, because I'm not going to ask the obvious questions. And that's the big thing. The question I would have asked me, it's just that. Why would I listen to the Break It Down show?
Okay.
Because there's a spy making a show and he talks to incredible people.
That's awesome.
And as you know, some of these people are, they've won the highest award in their field, Pulitzer Prize.
Oh,
Check. Done it several times. #1 New York Times bestseller. Check several times over. So if the people that you watch on other people's shows are going to be on my shows, especially if they're like, Joe Rogan or something like that. I get those guys all the time.
I mean, what I really appreciate from your show, and I will admittedly say I have stolen, is that you don't do it like a press junket, right? I get a lot of people that want to come on and they want to kind of do the press junket thing, and I refuse. I get in there, I find out who they are, I find out what they're trying to do, and we have a real conversation. I mean, and that's what you do, and I think it's absolutely beautiful. And I will put the show note in the show notes. I'll put in there links for everybody to find your YouTube for you. And Pete, just thanks for being on the show, man. I appreciate you.
Yeah. Well, my pleasure. And seriously, if I can be a help to anybody, Pete at breakitdownshow.com. I'll tell you what I think. You can use it, not use it, but I always want to try to be of service to others.
Hey, feel free to reach out to me on Twitter by using my handle @ScreenwriterPod. And if you liked the show, please support it by subscribing and sharing the episode on your social media.